For example, I lose my financial because I always have house, I always have company to garage with a car mechanic. I lose in 3 days more than 145,000 euros. I was lose. But the financial is not the most important. It's important, but it's not number one. The most important thing is what I lose, my ambition and my heart and my personality. I'm feeling like animals from the body. I'm feeling like this.
When I left you in the latest episode, we just got to Lviv, and after a safety briefing, we had the chance to have lunch and explore the city center for a few hours. Lviv is a historic and culturally rich city located in the western Ukraine, close to the Polish border. It's often referred to as the Little Paris of Ukraine because of its charming architecture, artistic traditions, and vibrant cultural scene. The historic center of Lviv is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's known for its well-preserved medieval and Renaissance architecture, cobble streets, and numerous churches, making it a popular destination for tourists. Lviv also has a flourishing art scene, and you can find murals and graffiti throughout the city. And you really don't feel that you're in a country at war. Life goes on here with thousands of people in the street, and a lot of street performers, like this choir of older people in front of a monument in the city center. Lviv is also known for its many cultural festivals. One of the most famous is the Lviv International Jazz Festival, which draws musicians and jazz enthusiasts from around the globe. It has a strong coffee culture and is often referred to the City of Coffee, or the coffee capital of Ukraine. With a long history of coffee houses and cafes, some of which date back to the 18th century. I'm looking forward to being back in Lviv in a few days, but now it's time to head east.
If travel is your passion and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, you can travel vicariously from the comfort of your own home. This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
We've just spent a couple of hours in Lviv and did some shopping, had something to eat, got a safety briefing from Orest, and now we're back on the bus heading to the railway station where we're going on a 15-hour train to Kharkiv. The distance from Lviv to Kharkiv is about the same as from here to Amsterdam, I think. It's a very long ride, and we're gonna get there tomorrow morning at 8, 9ish, and then spend some time in Kharkiv. Exactly what's gonna happen is very much in the dark for us. They've planned some different visits and speaking to some locals, but exactly what's going to happen, we're not exactly sure. But that's all for safety reasons.
On the train, I get a chance to get to know more of the people on the tour. One of them is a young American from New Jersey called Lee Sandberg. Lee, why did you decide to join this trip?
I got talked into it.
By whom and why?
My roommate, who's an experienced traveler, unlike myself, and he knew that I was very passionate about the Ukrainian cause and encouraged me to join the trip. And having been on a previous Nomad Mania trip, I went to Armenia. That was a tour led by Harry. So, I enjoyed that one. And I felt that this is a well-organized trip, and that was also sort of a volatile area. Some of the places we went were close to the Azerbaijan border, and sort of slowly building confidence, but also fueled by kind of the travel bug. I decided to go through with this trip.
Meet Palle Bo, a full-time traveler and digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. This is the Radio Vagabond.
Before going on this tour to Ukraine, I was in Krakow in Poland, close to the Ukrainian border. Here I met one of the many Ukrainian refugees. His name is Dmitry, and he fled with his wife and 10-year-old daughter. They came 6 days before I met him on the main market square, and we got to spend some time together.
Yes, my name is Dimitri. We are coming here 6 days ago. Of course, we are coming because no choice, because we have to escape, because my situation in my country is so sad, so dangerous. And also, what can I say? There's also no future to live there.
Dimitri, that you'll hear more from in a bit, is from a Ukrainian city that has been suffering the most, and it's now under Russian control. Let's take a few minutes to talk about Dimitri's city, Mariupol. If I were to describe Mariupol before the war, it would probably sound something like this. Imagine me saying this in 2021. Mariupol is a vibrant port city in the Donetsk Oblast, located in the southeastern Ukraine near the border to Russia. The city was founded in 1778 and has a rich history. It's been influenced by various cultural and political shifts over the years, including periods of Russian, Soviet, and Ukrainian control. Mariupol is important in Ukraine as a major industrial and economic center. It has a significant steel industry, and its port is one of the largest in the Sea of Azov, making it a vital gateway for trade. In January 2022, the city had an estimated population of 425 to 450,000 people, and is known for its diverse population, including Ukrainians, Russians, Greeks, and other ethnic groups. This multiculturalism is reflected in the city's culture and cuisine. The city has a reputation for hospitality, and many visitors to Mariupol report positive interactions with the friendly and welcoming local residents. The city has many cultural and historical attractions, including theaters, parks, and museums. And the Mariupol History Museum are among the notable cultural institutions, but it's also known for its picturesque seafront promenade. This area features parks, beaches, and recreational facilities, and is a popular spot for locals and tourists, especially during the summer. Now, this is what it would sound like if I was to describe it before the Russian invasion. And this is where Dimitri and his family were living a comfortable life. Both him and his wife had businesses. She was doing nails and beauty care, and he had an auto mechanic garage and a car paint shop. You come from Mariupol, a city back then with 425,000 people or so?
Yeah, some plus minus, we can say that, yeah.
And now it's around 100,000?
Maybe less. Maybe 50 to 60,000 maybe.
So what was your life like? What were you doing, you and your family?
My wife, they was working for the cosmetics. They working like pedicure and manicure. And I was open two companies. One company with two garages. There was car mechanic and painting cars. There was function good. I was traveling. I was in Israel. I was in Egypt. I was visiting Jerusalem in Jesus part. We loved the traveling because the company, there was good function. And after we come back, the working, I was bought the house. I was thinking something changed in my life, my hard work. I was give everything for my daughter. And coming one day, my life is completely changed. It is broken. The Putin entry to my country. And my life is everything. It's like stone in the moment. Everything's like on the ground. Rubble, completely, totally.
The siege of Mariupol started in the first days of March. And it was hard and unreal for Dimitri to witness his city and his life turn into rubble. Where were you at the time, and were you with your family when the whole thing started?
Yeah, I was with my family, of course. We love each other. I never lost my family, of course. But we was living in Mariupol because we never thinking that they're going to destroy everything and the war will be so long time. We never thinking go outside of my country because I love my country. I am born there. I am patriot. But we was waiting. Destroyed one day, next week destroyed, next month no stop, another month no stop. We was in the basement 3 weeks with another people.
Yes, like so many other citizens of Mariupol, they had to seek shelter in a basement. And one time Dimitri and his family were underground with 6 other people for 3 weeks.
Yes, I was in the shelter. We was 3 weeks, 20 days actually we was there. We was with another 6 people. Yeah, and the people, they bring only 2 kilograms potatoes and water.
2 kilograms of potato and water for how many people?
9 people in 20 days. We was eating like pieces like this every day. Help one to each other, no dying from the hungry. Yeah, stress, hungry.
Imagine the stress as you're hearing the bombing of your city above and not knowing if the building would be hit and collapse, trapping you inside. And being there with only 2 kilograms of potato and some water. During these 3 weeks, Dimitri lost 11 kilograms, more than 24 pounds. At this time, he was trying to stay confident and strong for his then 9-year-old daughter. The whole thing has given them all psychological problems. Dimitri describes how his daughter suffers.
But maybe she remember later big, but she's shocking. A lot of psychology problem. She cannot sleep in the night. She crying, She stay in my hand, like difficult discussion in the moment. But I understand why, because they make almost like depression, for that reason I understand,
Post-traumatic stress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. She also walking my wife with my daughter, for example. She don't want to stay with me now. She like to walking some park somewhere by alone, myself, no talking with any people. It's a little shocking in the head, but I understand, of course.
Dimitri did give me his last name, but I chose not to use it. It wasn't something he asked me to, but for his and his family's safety, I'm not going to. Because what he tells me next is such a big accusation that it could potentially get him into trouble. And at the same time, I want to give you a warning. If you're listening with children, or if you don't want to hear about the horrific brutality and a war crime he witnessed, now would be a good time to skip 90 seconds. One day, in the early days of the invasion, Dimitri saw something with his own eyes in a small forest in the outskirts of Mariupol. A little girl, his daughter's age, was tied to a tree and being raped by Russian soldiers, just laughing and having fun.
When we was in Mariupol, we have one small forest in the Mariupol, small one. It's not inside of the city, but outside of the city. We saw it, army soldiers from the Russia. There was one girl, maybe 9 years old, or maybe 10 years old, no more. They stay in the front of the tree. I saw it in my eyes. Russian soldiers. I saw it.
They raped her?
Yes. Small child, maybe 9, 10 years old. She was crying, and the Russian army with a gun and make fun. In Mariupol. I saw it. But what can I do then? What can I do? I have to be quiet, escape, because if I don't escape, they shoot me in the street. Yeah, it's hell. It's hell. It's hell.
Like you, I really don't understand how a group of men, some of them maybe also being fathers, would think that it's okay to group rape an innocent little girl from their neighboring country. How can that be? I told a friend about this and played the clip to him, and he said that can't be true, that it must be something Dimitri's making up. Honestly, I can't know for a fact. I wasn't there. Thank God I wasn't there. This is just what he told me, and I was across the table and I could look into his watering eyes and I felt confident that he was telling me the truth. If you want to see the video with the entire conversation I had with Dimitri that day over a glass of orange juice on a sidewalk cafe in Krakow, go over to the blog post for this episode on theradiovagabond.com and judge for yourself. On the 28th of March, the mayor went on TV and said, "We're in the hands of the occupiers today." And a spokesperson for his office announced that nearly 5,000 people had been killed since the start of the siege.
The Red Cross has called Mariupol apocalyptic.
After the siege, this once beautiful city looked a lot different.
And an Associated Press news crew risked everything to show that might just be true.
The UN estimates that 90% of residential buildings were damaged or destroyed.
The battle to save lives while fearing your own.
An example of an attack happened on the 9th of March, 2022. The Russian Air Force bombed the maternity hospital, killing at least 4 people and injuring at least 16, and leading to at least 1 stillbirth. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the European Union Head of Foreign Affairs Joseph Borrell, and the British Armed Forces Minister James Heapay described the bombing as a war crime.
Good evening. We have seen perhaps the most confronting blast in the Ukraine war zone so far. A theatre where more than 1,000 people were sheltering has been destroyed.
But probably the most horrific airstrike that will go down in history happened a week later when the theatre was bombed.
We don't know the death toll, but the world is assuming the worst.
This building was filled with locals seeking shelter.
An atrocity that was enough for the US president to brand Vladimir Putin a war criminal.
A theatre sheltering civilians.
Men, women, children, young and old people.
Ukraine says as many as 1,200 were there when Russia dropped a bomb.
Even though they had written children in Russian on the ground outside the theatre in big letters that could be seen from the sky.
Trapped families with no way out, hiding in the building, even branding their desperation to the sky. These words say, children, a human plea to spare them. Instead, mass slaughter.
Later, after thorough investigations, Amnesty called it a war crime, and in a report they said that Russian forces most likely intentionally targeted the building, knowing it was a civilian site.
The Russian airstrike that crumbled the Donetsk Academic Regional Drama Theater was the deadliest single attack on civilians since the war began. Officials in Mariupol had estimated the death toll around 300 people. But evidence uncovered by the Associated Press reveals closer to 600 people were killed in and around the theater on March 16th.
70% of the population of Mariupol was forced to leave, and among those, Dmitry, his wife, and their 10-year-old daughter.
At what time were you able to leave Mariupol?
Last 2 months ago, because we was also in Odessa, we was in Donbass, we passed to the Bakhmut. Because we are because we take the minibus, we visit another friends from my wife. Depends which part of the Russian army they go, you have to round it. You have to round it, you cannot go too straight. Exactly, because they shoot you in the street, of course. And we was in Odessa, we was in Bakhmut, we was in Lviv also, we was passing to Lviv, we was there. And after we arrived to the border, I told you we had 3 nights sleep in the border before to enter to the Poland. We were sleeping on the ground because so many people from my country, they escape. They want to enter to the Poland to find some freedom. And after we pass to the border, we take minibus for the refugees from the border to arrive to Krakow. Yeah, that was the trip.
Once a business owner and upper middle class in a big Ukrainian city, now living on the railway station in Krakow, Poland.
We are on the ground in the moment. We are in the big hall in the moment, yeah.
Where are you staying
now? Now in the train station, yeah.
With your wife?
With my wife and with my daughter, yeah. I don't want to talk also about the things, but yeah. Shock.
So Mariupol was one of the first cities under attack.
Yeah. The first day of the march. There was after one week when we all they started. Yeah. They was started. The most powers, the most attack, there was for the Russian. There was first moment when Russian army, they make the highest power in my city and all Ukraine. Yeah, Kharkov. There was Kharkov and Mariupol. Yeah.
Another one being Kharkiv, where we're heading right now. More about that in a minute when the program continues. Stay right there.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
This episode is supported in part by Hotels25.com. Use it to find the best prices on a place to stay, no matter where in the world you're going. Hotels25.com.
And now, let's get back to the show.
So you don't see yourself as a reckless daredevil?
No, not at all. And I think just one of the things that helped was sort of reading a lot of news, reading information from Orest, and looking at his YouTube channel. And there was also a podcast.
I know.
By chance, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. And I mean, I think that the understanding was always clear that there was risk involved in a trip like this. But
have you had conversations with friends and family and saying, "Oh, what are you thinking?"
I didn't want to really involve friends and family. I wanted to stick to people that have travel experience that could be better able to judge like the true risk level versus what the sensational risk level that might be generated by someone's impression of from the news media.
So especially my sisters, they said, why are you doing this? So what would your answer be?
Why am I doing this? I think to support the Ukrainian cause first and foremost. If my presence here in any way was detrimental, I wouldn't have come in the first place. But hearing from people I've spoken to and being a follower of many different accounts online, I think there are ways to support not just from afar, but by being present and on the ground. And I just think that even the little bit of sort of business that we might be able to stimulate here, and also creating a bridge that sort of demystifies, destigmatizes the uncertainty and creates more sort of shows that it's not necessarily a safe space, but a space that is not necessarily off limits. It's a place that we shouldn't be cutting ties with.
Ukraine is a big country, slightly larger than France, 1.5 times bigger than Spain, and around 4 times the size of the UK. It's almost the size of Texas and significantly larger than California. And since we're going from one end of the country to another, it takes a while. This is a 15-hour train ride. It also means that Lviv is far away from the front line, while Kharkiv is much closer. And right now we're on the train on our way to Kharkiv. What do you expect to see there?
Unlike Lviv, which felt, aside from some of the boarded up windows, as a precaution from, I guess, explosive shock waves should they occur, I imagine from what I've read that Kharkiv will show more of the scars and signs of war, and that this will not only present itself in the facades of buildings, but the consciousness of the people there as well.
I have a feeling we had kind of a fun day yesterday, and tonight when we're back at the hotel we're staying at, I have a feeling that we're going to be a little bit more quiet.
That's the idea I would have as well. I think it's a matter of respect for the local population, but also following their lead. I mean, it's not...
Also in a quiet state of mind as well.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that's encouraging is in the moments of sort of progress in the war in which Ukrainians are making gains, you can sort of see in their spirit represented, and hopefully if there's things to celebrate, we can do so together. If there's things to be more contemplative of, we would do that as well.
You can see pictures, videos, and links and read much more on theradiovagabond.com. You can also send a few lines to Palabo and get featured on the show. Tell him where you are and what you're doing right now as you're listening to these words. Just click on Contact on theradiovagabond.com and fill out the form.
After a long night on the train, we made it to Kharkiv.
Andrei is our local boss. I've never seen so many people. A lot of people, a lot of names.
Andrei.
Yeah.
What does it say here? Does it say here?
Commander.
Just 30 kilometers, 20 miles from the Russian border.
Today, tomorrow, Andrei is the boss.
The boss.
We follow him and
the boss of the commander.
Andrei Nimkovich from the local NGO Rescue Now met us at Kharkiv station.
Let's go to our bus.
And now, facts about where we are.
How big and how many people?
Before the war, Kharkiv had a population of 1.4 million people, making it the second largest city in Ukraine after the capital Kyiv. Over half of the residents left the city at the start of the war, but officials say that many have returned to Kharkiv, with an estimated 1.2 million people currently living there. Kharkiv was the capital of the Ukrainian Socialist Republic within the Soviet Union from 1919 to 1934, and it played a crucial role during the early days of the Ukrainian Soviet government.
Official languages.
Ukrainian is of course the official language of Ukraine, and the majority of the population in Kharkiv speak Ukrainian. But it being so close to the Russian border, Russian is also widely spoken and understood. In recent years, and especially after the invasion, there's been a stronger emphasis on promoting the use of the Ukrainian language. Kharkiv is an industrial and economic powerhouse in Ukraine. It's known for its aerospace and defense industries, machinery manufacturing, and IT sector. The city hosts numerous technologies and innovation parks and is considered one of Ukraine's main IT hubs. Kharkiv is an important transportation hub with a major railway station and an extensive network of trams, buses, metro and trolleyways. Public transport operates on schedule and is free to use. Speaking of the Kharkiv metro, it was the second in Ukraine after Kyiv, and it opened in 1975. The metro consists of 3 lines that operate on 38.7 kilometers, 24 miles, and serve 30 stations. Many residents moved to the underground metro system to stay safe from the Russian attacks. But in May 2022, Kharkiv mayor announced that the metro would restart operations and that residents should move out of the metro system. In September 2023, small schools were created in 5 metro stations so that education would continue during the ongoing Russian bombing of Kharkiv.
And that was facts about where we are.
Quite a few buildings in the central area are damaged as a harsh reminder of the war going on right here. But despite everything, the city is surprisingly lively with traffic, shopping, people minding their daily business, and other indicators of normal life. So life goes on no matter what.
And guys, a request, now that you've disposed of your luggage, when we get on and off, snappy, quick, do not delay. We must get out and in as fast as possible.
After quickly visiting the local Rescue Now headquarters and getting a first glimpse of Kharkiv as a city still very much alive, we're back on the bus after breakfast. Here, Harry told us to be quick getting on and off the bus. There couldn't be any extended time waiting outside. We're joining the NGO in its 3 times weekly trip to the east, providing vital aid to locals whose homes had been lost or destroyed.
Okay, so we are going to one of the villages and we are going to distribute them aid, and this is an example of one package. So
У кожного сім'я є така.
Так, це на кожну родину. It's a package for one family.
Можна.
Like hygiene, you see. Це українською, а тут є запис іноземною. Sheets, hygiene, cleaning stuff, dishes, everything.
And these people are living in their homes, or have they been displaced?
Many of them came back to rebuild their homes.
The road east of Kharkiv is well paved, but scaringly empty for traffic. The farther away from the city we went.
This used to be the front line. Basically, on the left side were Russians, on the right side were Ukrainians.
We passed quite a few checkpoints, and Orest and Harry reminds us not to take photos.
Remember, no photos and videos of checkpoints.
Unless you want to be in Ukraine for a long time.
Until the end of the martial law.
We lastly bypassed Izum and headed straight to the village called Kamyanka, 5 kilometers further. Everything had been flattened here. It's a village without any significance, already poor to begin with, and had been mostly reduced to rubble, with the school and hospital destroyed, and unusable car wrecks scattered around the edge of the dirt roads in this forgettable village.
Can you help me, Oris, describe what we're seeing here?
So we are in the village of Kamenka, which is just south of Izum, very close to the border with Donetsk Oblast, with Donbass. This used to be, the front line was going through here. So basically there was a lot of fighting, and there is not a single remained home. Yeah. So the pre-war population was around over 2,000 or 3,000 people.
when this was liberated, 0 people lived here. And now maybe just a couple of families are starting to come back to try to rebuild, but at the moment there is no electricity, as you can see, and basically it's like it's just like an Armageddon scenery with cars smashed because of tanks rolled over them. So here in the village of Kamenka, which used to be on the front line, and the destruction we see is the result of artillery. Only with artillery you can make such a vast volume of destruction. And unfortunately, this is an example of what's happening in Ukraine along the entire front line, which spans for almost 1,000 kilometers.
Before the war, the village had over 1,000 inhabitants. Only 72 of them have dared to come back. And back to what, I'm thinking? Only ruins here, and I don't see a single building that wasn't badly damaged or completely destroyed.
And we're outside of Kharkiv. How far are we from the city of Kharkiv?
We are over 2 hours south from Kharkiv towards Donbas direction. And it's around 130 kilometers to the south. So we are on the outskirts of Izum, which is a major town in the area here.
And this used to be the front line, but how far away is the front line right now?
Now, around 40 kilometers to the east from here. I think if we go on some hill, we can hear the sounds of war with artillery working on both directions. But now, why we choose to come here, first of all, we wanted to see the result of the war, we will do the distribution of humanitarian aid to local population, but also because it's 40 kilometers from the front line, this is beyond the artillery range, which makes us vulnerable only for a long-range missile, but not artillery, and which gives us less chances to be the object of the attack.
Yeah, and we're moving a lot.
And we are always moving. We did our own intelligence. We did plans, then we confused the plans. So we try to take the highest security measures, but obviously nobody is guaranteed. Yeah.
We met one of these people in front of his destroyed house.
А тогда 4 август.
Да, август.
Последний год. Так.
Ну тут жили русские.
Per Besson from our group speaks many languages, and he was able to have a conversation with the man. He's very eager to share his story.
Русский говорящий, русский.
19 після вже освобождення, і це ми вже нарисували.
А откуда ви родились в этот поселок?
Я тут живу, я це жив тут.
І мама, мамушка, папа, то
да. Вони живуть на тій стороні.
What was he telling you before, Pierre?
I was just saying this. I mean, this actually they took this back in the counteroffensive in the end of August. But before it was bombed, he was in Kharkiv, and then in the end of August last year, when he had the lightning fast counteroffensive, then they came and took this. But they, of course, the Russians were defending this. They occupied it, and then they took it back end of August. So.
It's in this village we were told to stay on the roads, as there could be landmines. Just one day before we arrived here, a boy stepped on a landmine. So this is real. The man invites us into his garden to see his destroyed house, and a few followed him.
Wait, Harris, just because he says it's safe doesn't mean it's safe.
Per shouted and reminded them that they shouldn't.
Well, I mean, just because he says it's safe.
There might be landmines, even in his garden.
Come on, guys, get out of there. I mean, it's his home. Of course he thinks it's safe. I mean, it's his...
In the side of the streets, we saw many cars that had been run over by Russian tanks, and one wonders if there's any future for a village like this.
So, Oris, we're tagging along with this rescue group that are handing out packages to the people of the village. Can you tell me anything about this organization?
Rescue Now, it's the organization from Kharkiv. The war provoked a lot of organizations to mushroom to work. Yeah, and it's kind of possible to tell that there is some kind of competition between organizations because they are, competing to provide more good. But at the same time, they're competing for funds that support these charity organizations and how they can further on, use it in the most possible and impactful way around. So Rescue Now proved to be one of those organizations. As you can see, they act very professionally. We've been to their headquarters. They organized security for us, permissions. this is the way how they are building bridges between local communities and the rest of the world.
So they're handed a
Я не знаю, у нас керівник вирішує. Сувенірів? Не треба, дякую.
Патрони в мене там є.
Ой-ой-ой.
Любого калібра.
So the man is telling, like, please visit my estate. I have souvenirs for you. And those are like bullet shells, maybe some exploded part. Like, I don't think we need those souvenirs. Something I want to tell that this is not a tour in the classic sense. You know, we are not war tourists. We don't promote dark tourism. This is an impactful trip which aims to show the reality on the ground, feel it, and also our international community from Nomadmania, which is here, right? You will be the messengers, right, of Ukraine from here. And obviously, just the fact that you are able to come already means a lot to local people. So we are very grateful to see visitors in Ukraine.
We're greeted with smiles, and I was just handed a Ukrainian flag here. And what's in the boxes? We opened one before in the parking lot. They get there's a torch, and then in the box.
Torch, a lot of hygiene, some basic products for taking care of yourself, and continue living as it could have.
Yeah, because we're in a village with no electricity, and it's tough.
Yeah.
The aid was delivered, the locals were happy to see a foreign group, and some even gave us Ukrainian flags as gifts. In Izum, we also saw many destroyed buildings that have become tombs for people hiding in the basements, with almost every government building shattered or at least partially destroyed. A big "I love Izum" sign stands almost ironically in the middle of these ruins. Another meaningful stop in Izum was visiting a small back building where women were sewing camouflage for their soldiers.
Okay, so this is the way where they make these nets, which use as a cover in the military times. So they help.
These women, who could have escaped, chose to stay put or had returned to their hometown and were stoically using their skills for the war effort. As I mentioned earlier, there's been a stronger emphasis on promoting the use of the Ukrainian language. But being so close to the Russian border, Russian is also widely spoken and understood. And for some people, it's their mother tongue. In this little workshop, I noticed that they had a jar where it said that they should pay a little money if they accidentally spoke Russian. Kind of a swear jar, to be used only if you spoke Russian. And you could swear as much as you liked. There was an older woman in a blue knitted shirt with short grey hair, sitting at one of the tables working on a camouflage net for the troops. She looked at us, and I guess she realized that she had an audience and saw a soapbox. And boy, did she have things to share. She started in Ukrainian and then ignored the Russian swear jar on the table and switched to her native language, Russian, to be able to express herself better. I had someone translate what she said.
We don't need gold. We don't need money. We need peace. We need our children, grandchildren, relatives to be alive. We have the right to live. All people want to live without war. We are Ukrainians. I want peace in the world. I want peace for everyone. I want peace for the English, for the Americans, for the Israelis. I want peace everywhere. I think that the whole world needs to help Ukraine. I don't know how. I'm not a politician. I'm just a normal woman, but I know that we need help. We really need help. Once Zelensky said, I want to look Putin in the eyes. And I also really want to look him in the eyes, because he is lying. It's a lie. It's a lie. Why did he attack? Ukraine is not to blame. We have democracy. We really have democracy, because Ukrainians are such a people that we can't stop halfway. We defend our own, our homeland, defend our children, our wives, our mothers. Please report this to everyone. You have already seen the city. What a disaster. When Russians came here, they walked around our villages, our small town. They came to our apartments. They were surprised how we live. How can Ukraine live so well, they said. You have toilets. You have gas. You have a sink. I'm telling the truth about what happened here. And they say they came to free us. No, we will fight for freedom. Can you imagine? We were in a small town. And I saw people I know, people who died. Families were in the basement, just in the basement. They threw a bomb. Such a beautiful family. And they all died. Mother, father, husband, wife, child. They all died. I hope that you never feel this way. Never. That you always see your children, your relatives, always be together.
What does a war do to a person? For Dmitry from Mariupol, it's not only his house, his company, and the loss of lives in his community and in his country, but as he says, also a big part of his personality.
It's difficult to understand that, it's difficult to imagine, it's like, it's difficult to say because here in my heart, it's like, for example, I lose my financial. I lose more than 145,000 euros because I was have house, I was have company, 2 garage with a car mechanic. I lose in 3 days more than 145,000 euros. I was lose. But in financial, it's not the most important. It's important, but it's not number one. The most important thing is what I lose, my ambition and my heart and my personality. I'm feeling like animals from the body. I'm feeling like this. Yeah.
And when I asked him about the future for himself and his family, Dmitry doesn't really have an answer. So what do you think your future looks like?
Future. What can I think about the future? In today, I cannot think anything about my future. If I know start before then start the job, my daughter go to education, go to school. This is the most important things what we need with my wife. What can I plan? Nothing in the moment. Nothing. In the moment, nothing. Because everything blocked me in the moment. My psychology, my financial. I don't want to cry, but nothing. In the moment, nothing. Yeah.
Join me in the next episode where we continue the eye-opening visit and arrive to Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine.
Next week on the Radio Vagabond.
Guys, this is not a joke.
Guys, let's go to the shelter now. Shelter!
We're on the way to the train station here in Kharkiv, and as we just left the bus, the siren, the air alarm are going. As we just left the bus.
In this one, I played clip from Associated Press and 7 News Australia. My name's Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.